I don't know if there's ever been like a golden age of book talk. I don't know if there was like a peaceful era and then everything changed when the so and so attacked. I came into book talk and booktube after it already become like sort of a dramatic space where there'd be controversy every other week and this, that, and the other. And a big one is authors crashing out over negative reviews. And today that's what I want to talk about. Hey, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel. My name is D, and before we get into the video, I want to give a quick shout out to my Plus Ultra Don't Fretters, my top tier supporters on Patreon, Peggy Luhu and JJ Valdez. Thank you so much for your support. You are helping to ensure I'm able to keep creating content and put it out as frequently as possible. If you also want to help support the channel and gain access to my private Discord server and get a monthly bonus video, make sure you consider subscribing to my Patreon at patreon.com/dfretter. Free members of the Patreon get access to my monthly newsletter where you can keep up with me, what I'm reading, what I'm watching, what I'm working on. And if you don't want to subscribe but you still want to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee at ko-fi.com/dfretter. I'm going to be posting blog posts over there. You can help me reach my goal of getting a new camera by the end of the year. Camera that I currently use isn't actually mine, it's my best friend's, and he needs it back, so I need to get me a camera by the end of the year. And if you don't want to do any of that, no worries, but please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. So in this video, I'm not trying to like definitively answer why do some authors crash out over negative reviews or even like mid reviews, because I could paint with a really broad brush and be like, they all crazy, it's all ego and poor emotional regulation skills. But if you've been watching the channel for a minute, you know that I am far too talkative for that to be all I have to say. I'm what some would call a multi-potentialite or a multi-passionate artist. I've been trying to have a creative career of some form or another since I was like 16 or 17. I used to be a musician, and I am currently a poet, spoken word artist, comedian, and I'm working on a book right now. I've been part of many different creative communities and art scenes, and generally speaking, what I've noticed is that authors seem to have the most volatile reactions to negative feedback that they receive. Or at least it seems like it's a larger chunk of the writer-author scene. Now, this is all like speculation, you know what I'm saying? I'm not a sociologist. I didn't do a census. I'm not a research guy. I'm an opinions guy. I'm a SoundCloud yapper just doing my thing. I'm just drawn from personal experience and observations because I can just feel some rando being like,
all artists react poorly to negative feedback.
Sure, but I've never heard of a comedian tracking down a woman and hitting her in the head with a wine bottle. I know Meredith Novaco already made a video about this topic, and I'm really hoping that her fans are not like another bookish YouTubers fans who are like, you shouldn't have made this video because already talked about this. We're all just talking about the same things, you know what I'm saying? I think that writing books, the literary world, is unique to any other art form that I've worked in. They're all unique from each other, but I think part of its uniqueness leads to some of the extreme behavior that I'm kind of referencing or talking about. And again, I'm speaking very broadly. I'm speaking generally. I am generalizing. I'm thinking of a wide variety of examples, ranging from like small indie authors going on racist, transphobic diatribes on microblogging platforms in response to a 3-star review, or like authors with like 1 million followers allegedly making burner accounts to keep tabs on reviewers they don't like and allegedly sending their friends and fans after 3 different women to harass and stalk them, allegedly. And I think it's important to acknowledge like review culture, book review culture makes this art form pretty different from other art forms. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, movie reviews are a thing. We all know what Rotten Tomatoes is. Some movies will even be like, we're certified fresh. And they might even slap that on their Blu-ray cover. Generally, like positive or negative, reviews don't have as big an impact on a film's success or failure as with books. Yeah, a review could sway somebody who's like thinking about maybe seeing a movie, but it's not as significant. I think like the relationship between filmmakers and critics is a little bit different for various reasons. There are definitely like directors who go after critics, filmmakers who throw tantrums on microblogging platforms, you know, boys who cry woke. And I think why we see this more often in the literary world is because it's bigger. Like there's way more authors than there are directors. The barrier to become an author is lower than to become like a film director. And it's likely within every community you will have people who react very strongly to like negative feedback or a negative review. I don't even know if painter talk or pottery talk are things. I'm sure they are, but I'm assuming they're not as widespread or powerful as book talk. So going back to like review culture specifically, I think that like things like Goodreads, Storygraph are a huge part of the bookish space, whether you're a reader or a writer. And unlike with films or TV shows or whatever, book reviews do have an impact on like sales and your bottom line, especially for lesser known books by lesser known authors. Like, I don't know if I would agree with the idea that like a positive or negative review from a big book talker is going to absolutely destroy a book's potential to find its audience, but I think it's definitely going to hinder it. It's definitely going to hurt. It's okay to feel that hurt, but it's not okay to harass and stalk people. Definitely, at the very least, ill-advised to crash out on social media after you downed a bottle of what was supposed to be celebratory Prosecco. And as long as I've been a part of the internet book space, there's been like this weird adversarial relationship between authors and reviewers. But I do think it is because of the power of book talk and how book reviews are a bigger part of how people make decisions and what they're going to buy or what they're going to read. Because like when I think music talk, I think of people who make music. I don't think of people who talk about how much they love music or what music that they love. I don't really hear people talk about albums the same way I see like book talkers and booktubers talk about books that they enjoy. That content's out there, but I just don't think it's as big. I think I've seen a fair amount of like TikToks and Instagram reels of people reacting to music videos. But again, like in those reactions, the viewer can also hear and see what the creators reacting to, and they can decide for themselves like, oh yeah, I kind of like that snippet, I'm gonna go check out that song. Whereas you don't really get the same experience when consuming book talk or booktube content. And I'm sure like a platform like Goodreads or Storygraphs exists for music. I don't know what it is, and there's critics for every art form, I'm sure. I was trying to be like, I don't know what a critic for like improv would be or whatever. And I just think that guy would be annoying. Like everybody's going to have opinions on the art that they consume regardless of the art form. You know what I'm saying? So like you can have thoughts on stand-up comedy. You can have thoughts on movies, TV shows or whatever. I think that the platforms to talk about your opinions on those things are like fewer and far between and just not as inherent to the experience of enjoying that content. And I might be a little all over the place with this video. It's probably late. It's been a rough couple of weeks. I wanted to start off the video acknowledging that like it's not a one-to-one comparison being an author, whether you're traditionally published or independently published. It's very different than being a musician or an actor or a filmmaker, poet, comedian, whatever other art form, because it just is different. And part of that difference is review culture and how people make the decisions about whether or not they're going to pick up your book. It's different than if someone like here's a little sample of your music, or if somebody sees like the trailer you put out on YouTube or whatever, or they just went to see someone else at a comedy show and then you were also there. And this video might still be a little bit messy, a little bit chaotic, and I'm sorry. I know some people really don't like it when I'm scattered and they're like, oh, I can't trust you or whatever. Having worked in several different creative fields and practiced a bunch of different art forms, I do have some insight on like the differences between these things. It's led me to like kind of have a perspective on why it is some authors really struggle with negative reviews or negative feedback. First and foremost, this one's really obvious. Writing is really vulnerable. All art is vulnerable. Creativity is a vulnerable act, and sharing what you've created is even more so, I would say. But writers don't necessarily get a chance to practice their vulnerability before their work is out, at least not in the same way as some other art forms. So when you start doing stand-up comedy, you just got to go to an open mic and sign up. And it's probably going to feel really good the first time, and then you're going to bomb for the next like 5-6 times. You are being bad at a thing in public for a while. First year is you like kind of fumbling around, figuring out how to like read a room, taking live feedback, because like the feedback you get as a comedian is immediate. Did they laugh or did they not? And you got to learn how to take that feedback and figure out how to either like stick to your guns and figure out how you're going to make the set work, or take the feedback, like, okay, I got to tweak some things, I got to change some things around, rearrange some things. You don't have that while you're working on your novel. There is a similar thing with like spoken word and slam, because to me, those art forms are very similar. It's just that the reaction you're looking for is a little bit different. Obviously, you can have some funny poems, but you're probably trying to elicit like a range of emotions in a piece like that. And music, again, I think is kind of similar, because like if you play live, you're hoping for applause at the end of the song. Like obviously you don't necessarily want it while you're singing or something, but you're still like kind of getting like live feedback. And again, like with music, you're gonna end up being bad in front of people. Maybe that's a recital when you're like a little kid, or an open mic, or like just bar gigs or something like that. Like I think with music, of the art forms that I'm talking about, I think with music is the one most people start pretty young, because I started late, and I started when I was like 16. But with writing, you're going to start later in life where you feel like you need to be good at stuff right away, or why bother? Because when you're a kid, you can just be bad at shit. You know what I'm saying? But when you're an adult, you're like, no, I should get it right away. And we kind of forget how to be bad at things as grown-ups. We forget how to figure things out, and we forget that we will figure things out. With writing, I think it's way more common that you will start like actively working towards completion of a novel length project as an adult, because the average age of a debut novelist is like 36. And this is like a side note, but it's a good thing to know that and just keep in mind, because, you know, the publishing industry and society at large fetishizes youth and really puts out like, oh, like this person was like only a 19-year-old prodigy writer, or oh, she's 21 and she's already put out a trilogy or whatever. But most people, they're like in their mid 30s, because I think in order to tell a good story, you need to have lived some life. So if you just turned 30 and you haven't become a New York best time seller, you got like 6 years, bro. I'm kidding. Like, take all the time that you need. Your work is worth the wait. Going back to the video, you can write privately for a long time. You might tell people that you're working on a book, but you may never show them a single sentence of what you wrote. You're not going up to open mics and just like reading chapters of your book and be like, was this good? Did you like it? So it might just be you, your editor or editors, beta readers, feedback partners, the person formatting the book or whatever. It's a small circle. And then you put your book out, and you haven't really been given an opportunity to, I guess, like micro dose people not liking your art. Like you haven't really had to dip your toes into what it might be like or what it might feel like to get a lukewarm response to something you put your heart and soul into, like someone who's like sang a breakup song at a coffee shop might, you know what I mean? And so you put out your work, and then the reviews come in, and you aren't like emotionally prepared, or you haven't built up any resilience to deal with someone even just not really liking your book. Yeah, like they don't even dislike it. They're just like, yeah, it's aight. And then you're like, oh. And also, like, here it's probably important to note, people can be really harsh behind a screen. Like, yeah, I've been heckled as a comedian. And one time when I was a musician and I was busking, somebody walked up and paid me to stop singing. But online, especially when they don't have to show their face, I feel like people can be really extreme about how they feel about a book. You know what I'm saying? Like people can say some really over the top shit. I've said some really over the top shit reviewing books. So while I don't think that reviews of a book are personal, if somebody makes it personal and says something really fucked up, is like, yo, this person should have their laptop revoked, then yeah, that's gonna hurt. I don't want this video's messaging to be like, y'all are soft, you just gotta learn how to take that shit. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say in this part of the video is that I think authors, by the way like books are created, authors miss out on an opportunity to like thicken their skin and practice vulnerability. Writers don't really get an opportunity to thicken their skin and practice vulnerability unless they actively seek it out. And a lot of writers probably won't seek out those opportunities to get like critical feedback or learn how to improve because of ego, but also I think just because they're sensitive souls, which you have to have a sensitive soul in order to be a writer. Writing can be lonely. Writing is like a lonely, isolating practice. I think there are more communal or collaborative aspects to other art forms like music. Often you need a band or a DJ, Or like filmmaking, you need a crew and actors and all this stuff. And like as a comedian, like you're just gonna meet other people. And like a common thing I've noticed with comedians is like we'll be like, oh dude, we should write together sometime. Whenever I've met someone who's also writing a book, I've never been like, hey, we should work on our fantasy worlds beside each other. Wouldn't that be fun? Like among all of my creative friends who practice all these different art forms I've listed, my writer friends and I probably talk about the craft, the pursuit, and the practice the least. Whereas that's all I talk about with my comedy friends. Some would say a little too much. I actually don't know anything about these motherfuckers' personal lives. Are they married? Do they have parents? I don't fucking know. All I know is they like comedy. Writing is not transactional, but a lot of people think it is. Does anybody remember that woman on TikTok who was like, if you give a book anything less than a 3-star review, you're an asshole? And then her main argument as to why that is because the author put in a lot of work. I'd see that sentiment like expressed before and since that video. And personally, I think that that's a misunderstanding of how art and life works. Just because you work hard on something doesn't automatically make it good. And just because you worked hard on something doesn't mean that someone has to like it or give you a C at best. Art is subjective. There is no guarantee that if you put in X amount of effort, you're going to get Y amount of success. Your work may not be as good as you think it is, or it hasn't found the right audience yet, or people just straight up don't like it. Also, real quick side tangent, I think it's really stupid how people are like, oh, if you didn't like it, then you didn't understand it. There's a big thing on Book Talk right now where someone doesn't like a book, people try to like explain it to them like they're stupid. They're not stupid. They just didn't like it for whatever reason. And it could be and the reason could be as ineffable as vibes. Along with this sort of transactional approach to the work, there is this entitlement to success that a lot of authors have or feel or express. The sorts of rants about reviews and how if you give anything less than a 3-star, you're an asshole. People will usually try to guilt trip you and be like, you're hurting that author's career. And that's always rubbed me the wrong way because an author's career is not my responsibility. Just because you really want to be an author or want to be a successful author, that's not my problem. You know what I'm saying? Just like, okay, it would be really dope if I could go full time with content creation and I could, do more speaking engagements and sell my chapbooks and merch and all that stuff. But like, that's nobody's responsibility but my own. You know what I mean? Like, I can get a little salty and be bummed out that nobody wants to watch my videos that aren't about book talk, drama, or smut reviews. But that's still not the fault of the viewer. That's on me for not being interesting. So, okay, it's been a lot of ranting and a lot of speculating. Now, I'd like to offer some insights or advice on how to, I hate that word, on how to help deal with negative reviews so you don't end up being at the center of the next book talk drama. So, as always, these are more for myself. This is not prescriptive advice. This is just me drawing on my years of experience as an artist, trying to make it. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. And right now, it would be really easy for me to just be like, don't stalk people. Don't hit people with wine bottles. But as whack as my comment sections can be, I think that the core audience is far more reasonable than that. And they already know not to do those things. So, number one, stay out of review spaces. Reviews are for readers. I get a lot of pushbacks on this one. It's an ongoing discussion in the bookish internet space. If I'm not reading my reviews, how am I going to improve as a writer? I think that that's a weak argument because those reviews just aren't meant for you. Most people are not writing those reviews thinking that you're going to read them. They're meant to help other readers make informed buying and reading choices. And also, they aren't meant for you as in like, they're probably not going to be that helpful. Boring, didn't like it, or not enough kissing isn't enough for you to improve your craft. Listen to your editors, beta readers, feedback partners, writing groups, whatever. Those are the people who should be helping you improve your writing because you know them. You've built trust with them. You don't know anonymous 2255 kitty kitty lick lick. You have no reason to take their review that seriously. You don't know their level of taste. You don't know if they know anything about writing. Well, I can't afford to get an editor and I don't have time for beta readers and stuff like that. Okay, well, if like a filmmaker told me that they couldn't afford to have their film edited or they couldn't hire a colorist, or if a musician was telling me that they didn't have the time or the patience or the money to get their tracks mixed and mastered, I'm just not watching their stuff. I'm just not listening to their music. And I'm just some dude on the internet. Like, I can't stop you from just putting your stuff out unedited or whatever. You can do that. But if you're telling me that you're not willing to save up, or you're not willing to spend the money on, or you're not willing to like figure out some kind of labor trade with an editor or something, you're not going to do what you can to make your book an industry level product. You're telling me that your art isn't worth your investment. So then it's definitely not mine. And that's just my personal preference. Like, that's my attitude when people say like, well, I can't afford an editor, so I'm just going to use generative AI, or I'm just going to not edit it, or whatever. It's like, okay, well then you don't have a customer in me, buddy. And that's just my personal preference. That's just my response when people tell me like, well, I can't afford an editor. I don't have the time, so I'm just going to use generative AI, or I'm just going to not edit it. It's like, okay, just not going to read your shit. Like, fuck off. And I think staying out of review spaces isn't just for reader safety, although that is like my main reason for saying that. It is also like, I think it's good for writers to like seek out feedback that you're gonna like take seriously from sources that you trust. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know these people reviewing your stuff. You don't know if they have like, they probably don't have your best interest at heart when they're reviewing this stuff. And I think it's better for you to just like stay away from that shit and just get the feedback from people that you trust. It's a negative comment or like finding a 1-star review of your work is just not worth it. You know what I mean? I remember the last time I kind of brought this up in a video, someone's like, yeah, well, I watch book reviews and read book reviews so that I can learn from writing because I can't afford to take a class or whatever. And I was like, okay, but I meant like for your stuff. Obviously, like if you just want to watch Reads with Rachel, like do that. She's great. She's the best. And also, I think if people bring reviews to your comment section or tag you in reviews, that's a different thing entirely. And also, real quick, don't tag authors in negative reviews. That's mean. Number 2, build a community. It takes a village to raise an artist, you know what I'm saying? It can be easy to like it's easy for like your brain to become an echo chamber, or if there's just 2 of you who do the exact same thing, that can become an echo chamber. So seek out, people who have like different writing styles or approaches to writing or writing different genres or whatever, and make it like a diverse group of people. Number 3, know and accept the risks. There's a chance that you put your work out and very few people like it. There's a chance that people won't get it. There's a chance that your initial readers are not your ideal readers. There is a risk to sharing your art. There's a risk in like creating art, but there's definitely a risk in sharing it. Before you publish your work or pursue publishing, I think it's important that you understand those risks and accept them. Like, ask yourself, am I okay with some people not liking my work? And if you truly cannot handle like nothing but 5-star reviews, then I don't know if you're ready to publish. But that's okay. Number 4, learn to let go. Once you release your work, it's out there. You can't be precious with your work anymore. It's out in the world. Your work is going to find its way to people, and not all of those people are going to like that work. And some of them might even have the gall to tell people on the internet they didn't like it for whatever reason. But you have to relinquish control over that outcome. You never really had it to begin with. Number 5, keep your feelings off the internet. This one's pretty straightforward. Don't drink a bottle of Prosecco and then go on a racist, transphobic diatribe. Invite a friend over, get a pizza, and share that bottle of Prosecco and talk it out. Now, it can feel good to vent on the internet. I've definitely done that before, but I think just keeping it private and keeping it to a small circle is going to help you avoid backlash. And number 6, lastly, this is real simple. Just keep writing. I think sometimes we can get precious with our work because we think we only get the one shot to like make it. But you get as many shots as you're able to take. So keep writing, work on the next thing, like spend less time online. Maybe we should all spend a little less time online and spend more time working on the craft, reading books on craft, reading books in general. Obviously, getting negative feedback, it hurts. And those feelings are valid. Absolutely. I think there's things that we as creatives can do to protect ourselves from, or like not even protect ourselves from feeling those things, but like dealing with those feelings in healthy, more constructive ways and preparing ourselves for the eventuality that someone's not going to like our work. Because lashing out in acts of like violence or hostility is not okay. Mansplaining your book to somebody who said they didn't like it is not okay. I don't know. I just think it's important to focus on you and focus on your work, plug into your communities, and stay creative. You know, like maybe this book didn't hit the way you wanted it to, but maybe your next book will. I think we love the romantic idea of like a debut, kind of like bursting through golden gates and you're riding the gravy train on biscuit wheels or whatever, but like that's not how it always works for people. And if your only reason for wanting to do this is because you want to be the next J.K. Rowling or the next Piper C.J. or somebody like that, I feel like those desires and those reasons for being creative aren't going to take you very far, because as soon as things go not the way you want, or as soon as you hit a challenge, you're gonna want to give up, because that's just not enough to push you forward. Anyways, I hope that this rant was entertaining, encouraging, or at the very least broke up the silence while you cooked. Dinner smells great, by the way. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you to the patrons for supporting the channel. Again, if you want bonus content, to join the private Discord server and, help me keep going, patreon.com/dfredder. Or if you want to help me get a new camera, co-5/dfredder. And if none of that, and if you don't want to do any of that, no worries, but please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. My name is D, and don't fret. I'll see you next time. Peace out.